Is intermittent fasting good for weight loss? Well, IF works for me and my schedule, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that it's a good fit for you. So in this video, I'll be going over what intermittent fasting is, how we actually lose weight, how intermittent fasting works to help you lose weight, and then at the end, I'll be breaking down a nutrition plan that you can follow, whether you decide if intermittent fasting is right for you or not. I'm not here to waste your time, so let's briefly go over what intermittent fasting is and then some common methods of it. These are the methods I'll be covering, and let's start with the one that I've done in the past and still do to this day unintentionally. And it's also the most popular form of intermittent fasting, and that's the 16-8 method. This is all about time-restricted eating, and it's the only method that I would honestly ever recommend, especially if you're new to fasting. So how you go about this is 16 hours of the day you are not eating, and that also includes the time that you're asleep. And then for 8 hours of that day is when you will be eating all of your meals. So what would this actually look like? Let's say you eat your last meal at 7 p.m. You wouldn't eat your first meal until the next day at 11 a.m. The next method is alternate day fasting. And it's really just what it sounds like. One day you're eating, and then the next day you're not, and then the next day you're eating, and you just repeat that cycle. Next is the 5-2 method. And this means 5 days out of the week, you would just eat normally how you've been eating, but on 2 of those days, you'll be eating 500 to 600 calories. And lastly, the warrior diet. And this is essentially just snacking and grazing on raw fruits and vegetables throughout the day, and then you just have one meal for dinner, and that could be whatever you want. As you can see, this can lead to a lot of dysfunctional eating habits, and this is why I especially do not recommend this for those of you who have an active eating disorder, or for those of you who even have a past history of EDs. And I would recommend you to take a more moderate approach, which is something like the plan that we'll go over at the end of this video. All right, how do we actually lose weight? This is going to be all about energy balance, or calories in versus calories out. The calories in portion of this equation is going to be all of the foods, the drinks, all of the calories that we take in through our diet. And this is part of the energy balance equation that intermittent fasting affects directly. More on that in a bit. The calories out portion of the equation is going to be a little bit more complex, and that's going to comprise of your TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. Just think of it as the total amount of calories that you burn throughout a normal day. So your total daily energy expenditure is made up of a few things, and that's going to be your BMR, NEAT, EAT, and TEF, or the thermic effect of food. So your BMR, or basal metabolic rate, is essentially all of the calories and energy that you burn for just being alive. So think about digestion, breathing, circulating your blood, things like that. NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So these are all of the involuntary movements that you do throughout the day. And that's gonna be like fidgeting and moving around and blinking. Next, we have EAT, or exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is going to be your intentional activity. So this is you going out for a walk, or you going to the gym to do a workout. And the last part of that is going to be TEF, or the thermic effect of food. And that essentially is just the energy or the calories that we burn for digesting food. And certain types of foods will burn a little bit more or a little bit less than others, but that's a whole different topic. And if you want me to make a separate video about this topic more in depth, let me know in the comments. And so, how does intermittent fasting actually help us lose the weight? To put it simply, you're just eating fewer calories throughout the day. Let's say on an average day, you're eating 2,500 calories. If we take out one of those meals, all of a sudden you're eating maybe around 2,000 calories. And this could be even more drastic if you're also changing the types of foods you're eating and being intentional with that. Because if you were someone who was eating a lot of processed foods, you're eating out a lot, and now you're on this weight loss journey, so you decide to do intermittent fasting, but also eat more whole natural foods, that could be a more drastic drop from maybe 3,000 calories, and now you're eating 2,000 calories. So how can intermittent fasting backfire? IF is gonna affect everyone differently, and that's why it's so important to test it out to see if it works for you. If you try it out but find that by the time you're ready to eat, that hunger and cravings are just through the roof, that's a situation where you could easily overdo it on the calories, especially if you aren't mindful about your food choices. Let's say that you aren't aware that certain types of foods will help keep you full and satisfied longer, like proteins and fibers. So your first meal, when that happens, you reach for something heavy in carbohydrates, or maybe it's some goodies and snacks that you have laying around the office. What you'll find is that will not hold you over very long, and could actually kick up hunger hormones even more. And before you know it, you could be reaching for more food. And even if you are eating all of your calories within that time window, you could still overdo it. All right, what are the things to consider to determine if intermittent fasting is right for you or not? Number one is how you respond to intermittent fasting. Kind of like what I mentioned earlier, everyone is going to respond differently. So test it out for a week, see if it works for you. If it helps you control your calorie intake, amazing. If it doesn't, then something else might be a better fit for you. Number two is your schedule. I'm gonna break down 2 common scenarios that I see working with my clients. Let's say you're a busy mom on the go all the time and you're just picking and snacking here and there where you can find the time. Maybe you're swiping some Dino Nuggets or McDonald's fries off your children's plate, or maybe you work in a hospital and you can't control your lunch times or your break times because it depends on how busy the floor is. So you might actually need to eat breakfast because who knows when the next time you'll be able to eat is. And compare that to someone who works in an office who can eat lunch whenever they want, they can take breaks whenever they want, they have a microwave ready there, they're in much more control about when they actually eat. So schedule is something to consider. Another thing to consider, are you already making smart food choices or working on building good eating habits? Because you might not even need to worry about this. You could see amazing progress and results from maybe just making better and smarter food choices and understanding how to eat more food for less calories. And lastly, do you have advanced health considerations? This includes the eating disorders that we talked about previously, diabetes, because that could lead to hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. Are you breastfeeding or pregnant? Do you have any nutrient deficiencies? Are you chronically stressed? All of these things. So always consult your physician before you start a new protocol. I'm here to help you. So this is the nutrition plan that I mentioned earlier so that you can take something away from this video and that you can actually start to apply it to make some progress on your weight loss and health journey. And this is a simple and easy to follow plan that doesn't require you weighing or tracking your food out. Now you may need to start tracking later on depending on what your goals are, but this is an easy way for you to just get started. So this is your no stress nutrition plan, a complete guide to really just simplify this whole weight loss process and eating for weight loss. So this is page 2. It's gonna break down and give you instructions about how to actually use it and apply it. So step number 1, you can see that we are starting with the macro cheat sheet, so refer to that. So let's go to page 3. This is your macro cheat sheet. And I know that this list can kind of be overwhelming. There's a lot of options, but really just pick your top 3 to 5 from each category and just rotate that for your meals, right? And I don't want you to overcomplicate it. It's really as simple as you can see in step 3, mixing and matching to create your meals. And there are no portion requirements. And the beautiful thing about this plan is that when you go from eating more processed foods and maybe you're eating out a little bit more to cooking more meals at home and to incorporate some of these whole natural foods, your calories will drop naturally, right? So no portion requirements just yet. Again, maybe in the future, if you see yourself plateauing or whatever it is, we might need to get a little bit more specific. But again, I have clients who see amazing results with something similar to this. And I also included some meal ideas because I know sometimes we can think to ourselves like, I don't know what to make. Right, so here I break it down even further for you. You have lean ground beef meals, ground turkey meals, chicken, salmon, and also some high protein snacks. So this is your nutrition plan. To download it, I'll leave the link down in the description. I hope this video is helpful for you, and if it was, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there are other topics that you want me to do more videos on, and if you have any questions, drop it in the comments as well. I am here to help you. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing to my channel, and let's make health and fitness easy and simple to understand.